Hi, and welcome to another episode of Life's Worth Remembering. It's where our guests recollect and share their life stories. Today's guest is Nobby French. Nobby was born in 1960, a town called, or village I should say, called Kimpton. Nobby's had quite a colourful life, son of a poacher. We'll go into a little bit more detail as we go through. He's been in the building trade most of his life, and more recently, I guess, he's been self-employed. But I'd like Nobby to introduce himself, just to give us a bit of background, and then we'll get into the show. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Nobby. I'm a country boy through and through. And as Trevor said, came from a little tiny village. I've had an absolutely lovely life, and I'm hoping it carries on for a little while longer.
So what was your early childhood like, Nobby, in Kimpton? I understand that your dad was quite a bit older than your mum and that sort of thing. So
Yep. My mum and dad got married in 1959. My dad was 51 and my mum was 21. And my father's first wife had died. When my dad married my mum, she was obviously stepmum to 3 children who were all older than her. That is true Kimpton folklore.
That's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. So, and you're the first child of the second
I'm the oldest one of the second batch.
right. And so, what was your early life like in Kimpton?
Loved it. Obviously, first memories probably 4 or 5 growing up. And my dad was wounded in the Second World War, so he wasn't actually working when I was growing up. We had about an acre of land behind us, which my brothers and other people in the village used to help cultivate. One of them had a little tiny tractor, so he'd come up, and we were virtually self-sufficient. We were really poor. There was always food on the table, but there was never any material goods in the house. Everything was second-hand.
Right.
I can't ever remember my mum and dad buying anything new.
So, although it was a council house, you still lived off the land that you were renting, and I guess that was like a small holding to you. Yeah?
It was, and we were absolutely self-sufficient. I think little things we couldn't buy. I mean, rice and stuff like that. But we, it was we virtually ate everything that was on there, and he'd sell everything that was on there as well. We had chickens, rabbit, anything that was edible and saleable. We had pigs, everything, and it was a wonderful life as a child. It was hard work because I was doing an awful lot of stuff. Even at 5, I was weeding, hoeing, or planting, watering. He got me doing stuff the minute I could. In a way now, the reflection I have is quite funny because when he used to train dogs, because obviously we had dogs because they used to be an integral part of us going out poaching, and that's what they were trying to do. They would try and bring back rabbit, pheasant, hares, whatever we would get. And, his philosophy on training dogs was, I think, what he did with his children, because the minute we were able to learn, we learned. And that's what he used to do with dogs. He used to train the dogs at such an early age. And I actually do that now. My gun dogs die from the minute they're puppies. They don't know that they're training.
Yeah.
But they are. And for me, it's a really integral part of learning something. The earlier you can get on anything and teach it, I think the easier it is. And that's what he did with his children.
So I guess, and I understand from previous discussion that your dad was a bit of a poacher as well.
Awful, notorious.
Yeah.
We were disliked by all the gamekeepers and farmers as well around because we were notorious in the village for, going out poaching. And a lot of it was government, I think. A lot of it was down to the fact that in those days, pheasants or meat in itself was, had a value. It doesn't now.
No.
You can't give pheasants away, but in the day, I know my father at one point was getting £5 a brace, which in those days was phenomenal money.
Is it because of people in those days? Well, you didn't have supermarkets, did you? So that they could just they would practically pluck it and do it themselves.
And that's exactly it. That's what's been lost now. The amount of people that would, certainly wives as well. They would all take a brace of pheasants off you. They'd take it in there, draw it, get it ready for the table. I don't think you'll find many housewives will do that today.
No, well, I can vouch for that. I don't think my wife would do that.
Taking you back to the early stages when the pigs, we had pigs, and he would take the pigs that the abattoir was only 3 miles away in the next village.
Right.
And we'd take the pigs there. Mr. Simons, the butcher, would actually kill them, and then we'd bring one back, and he'd buy the others off my dad. Now, and this Mr. Simon, really funny character, he always had a cigar on the go, and he used to lean forward sometimes in the counter to put all the meat down, and sometimes the end of the cigar would just flop onto the meat, and he'd pick it up and just brush it off.
That's nothing serious.
We're talking customers in the shop. I swear you'd never get that now.
Crocky, no.
But we'd take the pigs there, and my dad would bring back everything that the butcher didn't want. One of the favourite things he used to bring back were the intestines, the small intestines. And we would have, if this was my job, and it was a horrible job, and that's why he gave it to me. You'd have 3 buckets, all with brine salt water, and you'd soak all the intestines in these buckets for 3 days. So you clean them out, which was very, very unsavoury.
Yeah.
First time, clean out. Second time, and then the third time, they would be white or really light. And then he'd boil those up. And although it sounds disgusting, I could tell when I got off that bus at school and I was 20 yards from my house, I could smell those chitlins cooking, and they would draw you, because although they sound awful, they actually taste absolutely delicious. Years later, I was football with a friend of mine, and we were coming back, and there was a shop, an old shop in Luton it was, and I could smell, got a distinctive smell. Oh my God, they're selling chitlins in there, we've got to get some. Walked up, we got a bag of chitlins in, and there's an underpass in Luton, and we're walking in the underpass, and my mate is throwing these down his throat, and he goes, God, these are lovely, what are they? I said, the chitlins. He said, what are chitlins? I said, the pig's intestines. He went, and he spat it out. He was actually sick, and he threw the bag on the floor. And I, don't waste those. That was it.
I mean, you don't. I guess you don't do that now, do you? Or,
that shop's gone.
Yeah,
been gone. God knows how long. But that was what it was.
So all the prep work was worth it then.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And then with the pig's head, people probably don't understand that he's threw nothing away. So the pig's head we would cook, and then it would all be cut up, and then it would be pressed in a bowl, and it was called brawn, and it'd be everything. Even the snout would go in that. I mean, there was nothing that we threw away. I can't remember the ears going in, and I'm quite sure they didn't, but everything else went in on that pig's head, and it was called brawn, and it was lovely. But it was cheap and it was free.
I guess that's the older thing, that in those days, even when there was rationing, I remember my parents were living off rations till the early 50s, I think it was. And offal was always there.
God, yeah.
And I love liver and bacon. I love offal.
Yeah.
But my wife now, she can't even stand the smell of it. So if I go to a restaurant, I will have liver and bacon, only because she won't cook it.
Yeah. Well, at Christmas, when we used to do all the chickens, because we used to, it wouldn't be allowed now, not allowed now, but we used to capenise them with this growth hormone, which was allowed in the 60s. And some of these chickens would be 14 pounds in weight. And that's, I hated Christmas sometimes, because my father would get me up in that shed with all the cockerels and chickens ready to go Christmas, because we'd probably do 30, I would have thought. I'd be up there plucking, drawing these, getting them ready, because they had to be pristine when people come round, But we'd gut those, and we would save, some of it. So there's something in the chickens. It's called the gizzard.
Yeah.
And it grinds all the grain. Now, it's a beautiful.
Right.
So, and that was one of his favourites. So no one ever got the
gizzard.
No one ever got the gizzard. We used to save those. And in fact, years later, I was in France and I saw a gizzard salad, and I thought, oh, I've got to have that. And it took me back to what we used to do. And they sell it in France now, and it's probably quite expensive.
Yeah.
But as far as offal's concerned, I still love all the offal.
Wow. So what was your early childhood like in terms of school? Did you go to school in Kimpton?
Yeah, lovely little tiny village school. Knew everybody. you know, everybody was friendly. We knew every single person in the village. You knew them by name. They knew you by name. So if you were caught doing something you shouldn't have done, you'd be up for it.
Yeah.
Which was lovely. I absolutely love school. Still really good friends with some of my mates when we went to school at 5 years old. You know, being born in a village, it was lovely. It was fantastic. I loved that.
So you wasn't ribbed then for being a poacher son?
Yes, of course I was. And, you know, some of my mates used to come round and there'd be pheasants, rabbits, everything hanging everywhere. Or you'd be walking up the road, you know, and my father would say, go and take a couple of rabbits up to the guy that used to cut our hair was in the army with my dad. And he'd say, go and take him a couple of rabbits up and ask him if he'll come and cut her hair. And he used to come up with his little tiny clippers, you know, the hand ones. Not
Yeah, I remember them. Yeah.
And he'd come up and my God, did he give us an army haircut? You know, as a kid, I was just like, not only was I the scruffiest little devil you ever saw, but when it come to the haircut as well, I had a military style haircut, and that cost him a couple of rabbits.
Yeah.
But you'd be walking down the village with rabbits. Couldn't walk round with pheasants because the old copper would know what you've been up to.
And when you left there, did you go to senior school in Kimpton, or did you go?
No, nearest senior school was a secondary modern in Wheat Hampstead, which was lovely. That was there was only 400 children in the whole of that 5 years. You know, 5 years of pupils.
Oh wow,
There was 400 children in that. So again, that was really small school.
Still a village atmosphere in Wheat Hampstead.
Absolutely,
at that time.
yeah, and that was good. What I loved about that one was the food. Junior school food wasn't too good. Secondary school, oh my God, I loved that.
Yeah.
You know, I used to laugh. My mate Andy would always want a pudding, and I'd always want a main course. So we'd go up, and I'd shout across, "So what you want today, Andy?" And he'd tell me what I want, and I'd tell him what I wanted. He'd sit down, and he'd hand me his dinner, and I'd hand him my pudding. Bizarre, but and you could get away with that.
Well, you did, yeah. I knew that some of my friends were exactly the same. They didn't like the liver and bacon or steak kidney pie, which is one of my favourites. I'd eat theirs.
Yeah.
But in those days, you didn't get fat.
No, you were running around.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't like about it was on a Monday morning, all the children who had free school meals, after a set or during assembly, you had to do the walk of shame. You had to walk up to the front and get your 5 free meal tickets for the week.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Definitely they did that because it does give you that, oh God, you know, everyone knows now that I'm one of the poor kids I've got free school food.
You know, I used to sit there and nobody ever said anything to me, but you know, my dad fought in the last war.
Yeah.
And, you know, he was wounded twice. So that's the reason he wasn't really working.
He wasn't able to work then.
No, he wasn't, no.
But he'd done his bit for his country.
Yeah.
And there's some pictures, obviously, that we'll put up later. Dapper young man, your father, wasn't he, in the war?
Well, I think you're being a bit generous there. He certainly wasn't at the end when he had this big leather belt round him, and you knew if you'd done wrong, that was the worst one. He had a slipper, he had a stick, and he had the belt.
Crikey. And you being the first child probably got the worst of it, did you?
Yeah, I got my fair share. Didn't do me any harm, did it? Let's face it.
And I guess that you started, I mean, I know that one of your passions is shooting. You probably started that off fairly early, knowing what your father was like.
God, yeah. The minute he could get me out, and my mother used to go mad about this. The minute he could get me out, he got me out. I mean, I grew up with bows and arrows. He'd make me those, and catapults. He got me, you know, trained with a catapult. I was actually pretty good with a catapult because he taught me really early. And then we progressed. He'd take me out. I remember the first time he took me out. Obviously, very exciting. I was only 5 or 6, and we went out, and we were in Hartwood, which is only a couple of miles away from us. And keeper knew we were in there, or knew someone was in there.
Yeah.
And the old man said, "Get in there." We got in. We really tucked into these brambles, tight. And he always used to say to me, "Don't be frightened of the dark, boys. It's dark is your friend." And we sat there. It wasn't my friend that night because I sat in there and got my mouth open, my father right next to me, and I could hear these keepers coming through the wood and thinking, and my heart was beating so fast. I got my mouth open. I could hear my own heartbeat. Shut my mouth tight, thinking they'll be able to hear that. Obviously they couldn't, but as a 5-year-old, that's what you're thinking. And they went past, and he sat there and he said, we're going to sit here for 10 minutes. And then we got up. We walked in exactly the opposite way they thought we'd go, back to the village, scouted for about 3 miles round, but we ran up all the hedgerows, and we were getting pheasants on the way home. If it was me, I'd have bolted and gone straight home. Not my dad. No, we're all right, boy.
Yeah.
They're going to go down
And
to
how
this
old were you
village.
then? How old were you then?
I was 5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Yeah, tiny,
Really
young. Yeah. Over the years, I used to go out with my older brothers as well. And then obviously I used to go out on my own, especially when Dad died, because he died when I was only 12. I took up the reins. I'd go out at the night time with the air rifle and bring a few back with my brother sometimes.
Yeah.
It was.
So your father was quite a big influence on you during that bit.
Oh,
even
still,
though
even
you lost
now,
him when you were 12. You know.
Even now, I look back at what that man taught me as a child. Hang my head in shame that remember 10%, because he knew about absolutely everything from fungus to plants and trees and what we could eat and how you could get away with, eating stuff that I've forgotten an awful lot of it now.
Yeah, well, foraging's a lost art now. We tend to, like I said earlier on, we go to the supermarket, we pick up what we want to eat, but we really haven't got a clue when we walk through the woods, how much food is available to you just there. You know?
Well, herbs. Take herbs, for instance. We go out and he'd see herbs, and he'd go, right, okay, pick them. And then he'd take them home and he would actually make them into this sort of, like a bouquet, if you like, tie them all up. And then they were put in the shed, drafty shed, and they dried themselves. And that was our herb for the year. And he had loads of them, everything from, I can't remember half the herbs, but they were all hung separately in the shed, and he knew exactly what was what. He never bought those out of a jar in Sainsbury's.
No.
They're all picked.
Ideal.
Yeah.
So although you came from fairly humble backgrounds and a poor family, you still ate well because obviously you were getting it.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did eat well.
And what did you, when you finished school, what was I know that you're a builder now. Was that the first thing that you got into?
Yeah, one of my mates, his dad used to work in the trade, and from the minute my dad died, really, I had a job, so I worked on the milk round from 6 till 7:30, run home again, get changed, go to school, and then I'd work on farm. And my mate's dad worked in the construction industry. And
I guess people don't really appreciate what the milk round is. Back in the day, everybody had milk delivered, didn't they?
They did.
From like the Unigate vans coming round. Yeah.
I used to get up there. We used to get up at 5:45, and I'd be up there for 6:00, and then we would run. The guy had come out. We'd run for an hour and a half delivering milk. That's what we were running. You weren't walking.
No.
You were running. All he did was drive the milk float. And in fact, one of the poignant things I remember about that, not a reflection on the guy because it was the 60s and it was a tough time, but the morning I woke up, my mum actually got me up at 7:30 and said, got something to tell you, you better go and say goodbye to your dad because he died at 11:00 last night. And I walked into their bedroom and he was laying was laying there, and I could see dead. The block is on his face where I didn't realise at the time when he was blown out in the tank, that he had had skin grafts. And I do remember, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this or not, but I do remember him saying when his mother-in-law came round, he would always put his cheek to one side like that, and he'd look at me and he'd go, "Kiss my arse." And it was because he took the skin graft off his backside. And he'd purposely put it there, and that's what he used to say, obviously quietly to me, but his mother-in-law was kissing his backside. I don't know whether you're allowed to put that in, but
of course, that's not a problem. I'm sure the audience will enjoy that.
But then I went to work. I went up on the milk round, and the guy said, because obviously I'm very tearful, but I went to work. I didn't want to let him down. I went to work, and he went, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, mate." And then we went on the milk float.
No.
Promise you? Yeah, on the milk float. But it was one of those things you just accepted it, really. you know, I can't see myself doing that to a youngster.
I would never do that. Not
No,
now, no. Even
no, but
bad, isn't it? Really.
yeah,
So, you obviously did that, and then you said that you got into the building trade.
yeah.
How old were you then when you got into the building trade?
Oh, I used to go and get manned at 15, and it was basically when I looked at the money he was giving me, because I do the milk round for 5 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and all day Saturday, picking up money. And
Yeah.
I'd get £5 for that, and then I'd go out with this guy for a day, and he'd give me a fiver at the end of the day. Yeah, we were digging holes and doing all the manual work, and that was big money as far as I was concerned. And so that's what drew me into the fact that I wanted to be in the building trade. I wanted to earn a few quid. And I looked in the local paper, and there were pages of bricklayers. And I thought, right, that's it. I'll forever be in a job. And other people used to say, get a trade, you'll never be without a job.
Yeah.
And look, I was looking at this, Evening Echo and the Evening Post, and they were earning 30 quid a day. Colossal money.
It was in those days, yeah.
I'm going for that.
I think my first annual salary was something like 1,700 in 1974 a year. 1,700 a year.
Yeah. Well, when I started, when I actually started as an apprentice, I was getting 16 quid a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
16 quid a week.
It's still good in those days, wasn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't complaining. I got an apprenticeship.
No.
And that was quite funny. When I went for the apprenticeship, I went up to the managing director's office for an interview, and I'd put a jacket and a tie on, and I smartly dressed. And I walked in, and he said, "You saw him have a look?" And I thought, yeah, well, I'm not going to get this job. And he interviewed me, and he said, "Are you sure you want to be a bricklayer?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." Well, I just didn't understand. He went, "Oh, I just wondered." And then meeting some of the other guys later and talking to the managing director one day, he said, "You're the only one who's coming here with a shirt and tie on." Bricklayer.
Like an office job, really. Yeah, you're going for an office job.
Yeah. And in fact, to be fair, when I'd finished my apprenticeship, they did offer me a job. They said, "Would you like to go and become a foreman and an agent and stuff like that?" But I was earning good money as a bricklayer and having good fun.
Yeah.
So I didn't take it up. And I'm glad they didn't.
No, you keep on the tools and you're fine, and then everyone's your friend.
Yeah. And
as soon as you start becoming a manager, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. I love using my hand.
Yeah.
I still, to this day, love working.
Yeah.
And I've done some fantastic jobs. I love working on grade 2 listed buildings. That's my favourite. That's my passion.
Yeah. Well, in a way, I guess, that those are the old buildings. Also, it's on the estates that you used to going around and stuff like that for your shooting type.
Exactly.
And you're restoring those places.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate it because we spoke before. You said that you were married twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when did you get married the first time, and when did you sort of get out onto to live your own life? Leave home, sort of thing.
Yeah, I left. In fact, a funny story there. I was lucky enough. I worked for a couple, and they were selling a house in Batford, 3 miles down the road. And asked me if anyone was interested. The old lady had died. It was outside toilet. It needed doing up, and they just wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I was 22 at the time. So I looked at it and I thought, ideal for me. It was an old wreck, really. And they wanted 19.5 grand for it, which was colossal money. Me and my girlfriend had saved up quite a lot because we both wanted, I wanted to get out and own my own home. Anyway, we put in for it, and we had a mortgage of 11 grand. I was working 5 days a week and weekends, but it sounds ridiculous now. But we bought that in 1982. We got married in 83, and we lived there for a couple of years. And then it was so mad at the time when we left there. I think it was 2 or 3 years later. We doubled our money. That's how much. I think we bought it for 19. I can't remember what we sold it for, but we just doubled our money. And I said to her, "We're just going to keep doing this. We're just going to keep doing this."
Yeah, well, the kids don't have the same opportunity today, obviously, because it's a massive increase in the prices. You bought that for 19,000. Even in those days, you still struggle to obviously pay the mortgage.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it was a lot less than you'd have if it was now. You'd need about 10 times your salary just to get a mortgage.
Yeah, and I think they'd only lend you then about 2.5 times.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
All we would get is. But yeah, no, I understand that. And so you got married, and how long was you married the first time around?
Now you've got me on. I would have thought I got married in '83, and I'm guessing 30 years I was married.
Yeah, first time. And did you have children?
Certainly together. Yeah, we had 2 daughters. Yeah, 2 daughters. Lovely girls. Got 4 grandchildren now. They're both in happy relationships.
Lovely. Yeah.
If they're happy, Dad's happy.
That's right. Yeah. And the grandkids are
Yeah,
probably better than kids.
Yeah.
Because you can give it back up to
Yeah. Unfortunately, my father has come through me, and I'm trying to teach the young boys now the ways of getting food.
Have you? Okay.
So that's my goal.
You're passing it on.
My goal is to teach the boys, at least give them an insight into what their grandfather's life was like.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, and those sort of things, you've got to give the history as well to them, as to what you're talking about today. It's brilliant with that aspect. So then I guess you were married for 30 years, and then what happened after that?
Then
not that I want to.
No. We were together 30 years. We weren't married 30 years. And to be honest with you, there's a section of your life just you try and put behind you, don't you?
Yes, I think you do, yeah. Even though that you might have had some good times, bad times and that sort of thing. I appreciate that myself. Obviously, I've been married twice. But the thing is that you do tend to put that aside, really. It's almost like it's boxed out.
Yeah. Well, I actually worked for a guy. I did a lot of work over the years for this guy, and his daughter was coming back from Switzerland. She had a marriage that had gone wrong. She got a little boy. And I didn't really want to do this job because, God knows, when Louise was 18, she came back to the house when we were renovating.
Louise being your second wife. Yeah.
She came back to her father's house, which we were renovating at the time. And he'd gone to Spain for 8 weeks so as we could renovate the whole thing inside the house. And he phoned me up and said, there's lots of mess in the house. I thought, no, there isn't. And I actually thought it was his daughter, Louise, who had sort of grassed us up. Unbeknown to me, it wasn't. It was the cleaner, which I didn't find out years and years later. And so I called her the dustbuster and had nothing to do with her at all, ever. Until she came back. When she came back, she was in a dreadful state, poor girl. And I felt really sorry because I said to her dad, I'll work for you, but I'm not working for her. And then I met her on this Saturday morning, and she looked. I actually thought she'd got cancer, and I apologised, and I said I'm really sorry. And she was absolutely lovely. And then out of that came the fact that it wasn't her that
dobbed you in.
It was the cleaner. And anyway, it was all past history. Did the job for her, very happy. Unfortunately, she had a lot renovation in there, and the ceiling actually dropped a little bit, all the weight of the stuff that was up there that wasn't expected to be put up there. So I had to go back and redo the floor, which was tile, broke the tiles up, we tiled it. And at the time, I'd left my wife, and I was living in a pub. I'd got a partnership, 4 of us in this, and we just finished it. We'd done a year, and it wasn't working. And someone else put me in touch with someone who was doing a pub up, and said, to go have a look. And it was about 15 miles outside St Albans where Louise was living, and I was living in a bedsit. And I asked her one day, is there any chance you could take me over there and I'll buy you supper? Because I've done some work on there, and I thought, it's not. And I wanted to get my van and my car over there. So that's what and that's what I did. And on the way back, horrendous accident in front of us. No one there. We were the first ones there. It was awful. And I don't want to go into the graphics of it, but come away absolutely covered in blood. One of the guys unfortunately lost his life. We got 3 out of one car, which was on fire, and another guy in another car was out. And I thought, oh God, you're never ever going to see me again. Long and the short of it was, it didn't, God knows how, because I had to go back to my site. I had to throw all my clothes away because they were just covered in blood. And it didn't put her off. and I'm still here now, and very, very happy and very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you haven't had any children with Louise?
No. No. She's got a son, Thomas, who she dotes over,
Yeah.
which is fine. He's a lovely lad. He's a photographer, and he's doing really well. Very talented, but yeah, no children. It's lovely. We've got a couple of dogs now, and our life is tickety-boo.
Great. It's lovely. And you obviously still keeping your shooting up and that sort of thing.
Still well, I'm mad for my shooting. That will never go. I so look forward to the winter time when we start shooting. Working my dogs. Just got another little pup who I'm training up now. She's a little cracker. She's been stolen by my wife for the best part of it, and unfortunately, this one's a white one.
All right.
It's called Lemon and White. And on a Saturday afternoon, when I bring her home, she won't be white. She'll be more muddy grey, and my wife will go mad.
So when you train these dogs up, because it's tough when you got them as a pet as well as a working dog, effectively, haven't you?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you've got to compromise between the two and know the characters. And this little one, I've had so many dogs over the years, and I've never had a bad one. If you treat the dog properly, I've never had a bad dog. And this is another little cracker. She's going to be a lovely little dog, lovely biddable little thing. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. And if you was to look at the things that came out, your proudest moment in your life, what would that be?
Now you've got me. Be the proudest moment in my life. I don't really know. Having two lovely daughters, a lovely wife. I don't really know. I'm proud. It's not.
No, I guess not. But I mean, you consider yourself to be lucky as well.
Unbelievably lucky.
Yeah.
I've been so lucky in health up till last year, and I've never not enjoyed life, whatever I've done.
So have you had any chapters in your life where there's been adversity or challenges for yourself?
Yeah, like this time last year, I had a stroke,
Crikey.
which was quite challenging. As someone that's up and out every morning at 6, training the dogs, walking the dogs, to experience being in a bedridden for a while, and then in a wheelchair, and then on a Zimmer frame, and now to actually be up and running, and I can't say I'm all there, because I don't think I've ever been all there, but
No, but you've had quite an active life, an outdoor life. You've been fit, so that must have come as a major shock to you as well.
Oh my God, yeah. When you can't even get yourself to the loo or get out the bed in a hospital bed into a wheelchair, that's absolutely frightening. And anybody that's experienced that will know what it's like. And it was awful, but I persevered, and the minute I could, I exercised and did all the things that the physios told me, but did it 10 times more than I probably should have done.
I think you do push yourself if you've got that sort of positive attitude that you want to get through it.
Yeah.
You're almost angry that you've been in that situation.
Well, I used to have a laugh. I used to have a laugh with the nurses, because at one end of the ward there was all these leaflets to tell you about stroke, stroke, going back to work, or looking after yourself and doing all these things. And must have been 40 of these leaflets, and I'd amble down there on the Zimmer frame at one point, pick one out and go back to the bed and sit on the bed and read it. And then I would get up and amble on and I'd pick another one up. And the nurse on there, she knew what I was doing, but she went, why don't you take half a dozen at a time? I went, take one at a time. Until she looked red.
Was your exercise program?
And I used to go up to her and say, can I have a couple of those Post-it notes, please? And I'd put these Post-it notes on the floor, because when the physio come around, they come around with these cones, and you've got to try and get your foot on the cone, which is so frustrating when you can't actually do something as simple as that. So when I'd had my time with the physio, off she'd go. I'd get down, because it was quite difficult, but I'd get them, or I'd get someone to put these Post-it notes on the floor, and then I'd just try as much as I possibly could to try and get there and get my foot on that damn Post-it note. And it worked really quickly. Stuff started to come back, and I was amazed how lucky I was to walk out that hospital, because on the day I left, I walked out. The guy next door to me went out on a Zimmer frame, and the other guy went out in a wheelchair. And to this day, I do not wake up on a Monday morning and go, Monday, it's raining. I'll get up and I'll put those 2 feet on the floor, and I think, you know what, Freddie? You're up and you're about.
Yeah, good day. It's a good day you're still here.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously you're still working, and that's a big thing as well. It's nice to be able to get back into the normal type life again as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And again, one of one of the fundamental things, and this sounds terrible, one of the fundamental things was I'm thinking, how's this going to affect my shooting? How is this going to affect my shooting? And
Well, if that's your passion, then it's like anything, you know. For me, it's training hard. I still keep training. Tired, but I'll do my swimming and I'll do my bike rides because I love getting out.
Yeah.
And if you've got a passion for something, you don't want to give it up, do you? It doesn't matter how old you
No.
get or how, you know, what situation you're in. It's one of those things that you want to
Yeah, you push yourself to
maintain.
get there.
Yeah, part of your life.
Yeah.
On reflection, in terms of this podcast is called Life's Worth Remembering. What would you consider yourself to be in terms of what you'd be remembered, what to be remembered for? You know, like you remember your own father, which
Yeah.
is great, and you're passing on that to your grandkids now in respect of the knowledge of the countryside and that sort of thing. What would you like to be remembered for, if you know, on reflection?
I'd like to be remembered for, you know, the fact that I was a country boy and I had knowledge of the countryside that a lot of people haven't got now and don't remember. And teaching the grandchildren. I love passing stuff like that on. That's it, basically. Just had a lovely life, and I've loved every minute of it. Being
Well, that's
happy.
nice, yeah, because often people talk about the challenges and the bad things in life, but there's nothing wrong with coming out and saying, "Hey, I had a good life.
Yeah.
It's been good to me."
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing wrong with that, really.
Yeah.
And instead of prevaricating over the bad stuff, you know, enjoy what we've got as well.
Just be positive
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
You won't find me sitting in the doldrums at all.
So as we come to a close for the session, is there anything that you'd like to give out there? Maybe a bit of advice, or you know, on other people, you know, a reflection on what life should be, because we've come through quite a big transition ourselves, haven't we, in terms of life?
Yeah.
But there's still an opportunity to let people know what to be, you know.
Yeah. I just think I'd be truthful to yourself. I've always been truthful to myself. I know my limits and I know what I expect from myself, and I don't differ from that. We've all got good sides, we've all got bad sides. But I think if you look back on your life and you've done more good than bad, I'm happy to be remembered for that.
No, that's
And
great.
I don't think, I don't think I've got an enemy at all. I don't think I've made any enemies. There may be one or two out there, but I honestly will, be happy with the fact that I've tried to be good to everybody. If I can help someone out, I will.
Yeah. And I think that's a good attribute. And I think that, you know, if we can all think like that, it'd be great. It's not everybody does, do they? Right. I'll bring this to a close now. I'd like to thank you very much, Nobby, for coming in today. And
I haven't bored you stiff.
No, it's been marvellous. I love listening to the stories anyway. This is just another episode. So I'd like to thank you all for listening in, those that have joined this podcast and listened to Nobby's story today. As I said before, we're doing a whole series of these, and perhaps maybe you know somebody who's got a life story worth telling, then please get in touch and subscribe and follow us, and we can add those to the next series. Thanks once again for listening, and look forward to you joining us again soon.
So what is your story to tell? Life's had its ups and downs. When we're looking into your soul, do we really know you that well? Tell me about the times of old, the lessons learned, the dreams you hold. How did you laugh? How did you cry? What did you leave behind? We all have a story to share, of joy, of love, of burdens we bear. So open your heart, don't keep it shelved. What's your story? And do we really know you that well?